Natalie, do you want to get on and see if anyone's in the chat room? Sure. We'll wait a minute and give people time to join us in the chat. Let's see.
Do you have some kind of light shining on you?
Yeah, we've got a ring light. Yeah.
You. Oh.
Let's see. Is your audio working? Talk.
Hello?
Yeah, okay. It works.
Hello?
It's good.
Okay. It's fine. The volume's fine.
Yes.
So I don't need to talk louder than this?
No. No, you're good.
Okay.
We got anyone in the chat? No one in the chat. No one in the chat. we'll give it a minute, and then we will just get started regardless. Well, what do you guys want to talk about? As we're on YouTube. let me hold on, let me tweet. And then I'll start the podcast. In fact, may just go ahead and begin to do that. People can join as they will. All right, so I'll go ahead and start recording the podcast.
Okay.
All right. Welcome to Force of Light Entertainment, where we keep things on the light side. I'm your host, Michelle, and with me is my co-host, my sister, Natalie.
Hello, everybody.
This is episode 37, and if you have not yet, as always, we encourage you to subscribe to the podcast and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you can join live events like we're doing tonight. And sometimes we have different YouTube content that is exclusively YouTube. So make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel also. Well, hey, Michael, how are you? Not this Michael. Our brother here is also here, who is Michael, but Michael has joined us in the chat.
From the Me Too Star Wars Network. Hello, how are you?
It's Med Too, not Me Too.
Uh-oh, yeah. Well, what I was doing there. Sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry to that, Michael. Well, those of you listening to us on our podcast, tonight's going to be a little different. We are recording live on YouTube, so we may have some interaction with our people that are live tweeting, or not tweeting, live
chatting with us.
Yes, live chatting with us tonight. So it may be a little different. But tonight we also have a special guest with us. And he has been on the show before, but this is the first time, if you're watching on YouTube, that you will actually be able to see him. And that is our brother, Michael. Michael, how are you?
Good. Good to be with you.
Yeah. Yes. Glad to have you to discuss what we're going to discuss tonight. And we are discussing a few weeks ago, as we'd like to hear from you all and try to do, we aim to please.
We do.
We had done The Dark Knight, and we did a Twitter poll of, do you want us to do The Dark Knight Rises? And The Dark Knight Rises overwhelmingly won the poll. There was not a single no, and quite a few of you voted in that one. So tonight, we are going to be discussing The Dark Knight Rises. So join the conversation, and let's talk some The Dark Knight Rises.
That didn't really flow off the tongue the best.
It didn't flow off the tongue, but that's okay. And, kind of interesting for this movie, we picked a good time with it because this past Monday, when Natalie and I decided to go back and watch it again, it actually celebrated its 8th birthday, so to speak. It was last Monday was 8 years since it was released in theaters, which that just made me feel like, gosh, 8 years just passed very quickly.
Yeah.
Time really does fly, especially once you're an adult on. It goes very quickly.
Yeah, it truly, truly does. So Natalie and I had a fun time going back and rewatching it. We celebrated its 8th birthday by watching the movie. And we'll begin the way we often do by giving kind of our initial thoughts. And I think I was the only one of the three of us to see it in theaters. Is this accurate? Did any of you see The Dark Knight Rises in theaters?
I think I did. Yeah.
With who? You didn't with me.
It had to have been with you.
Yeah, I don't think you saw it.
But I know I've seen it before.
No,
So
no,
when did I
in
see it?
theaters.
Maybe I watched it with you.
You watched it
in
with me at my
Atlanta.
house.
Yeah.
Michael, did you see it in theaters?
Yeah. No, I
Well,
don't think so.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll give my initial thought. I really, liked it when I left the theater. I went a few days after. Oh, welcome to the chat, Radio Rebellion. Good to have you in here tonight.
Yes, hello.
Yes, anyways, I went to the theater. Remember, they had that shooting the night of its release. That was a little creepy. So there was that. I think Michael's frozen on the screen. There was that.
No, I'm sorry. My phone, I'm going to try to ignore it. It was going off, though.
Gotcha. Yeah, when live on YouTube, let's try to ignore it. But
You guys have to remember this is our brother, so we might be a little more blunt with him.
But anyways, so this movie came out and there was that shooting. So it kind of, hey, Rez, or Rez, yes, Mr. Rez.
Yes, hello, Mr. Rez.
It kind of put a damper on the mood of seeing this movie that we were all so excited about. But despite that tragedy, which, I would be happy if we had a little more security in movie theaters personally. But besides that, I really enjoyed the movie. So I'll let you guys now speak because I asked Michael to be on tonight because I remember when you watched it, you went around your house talking like Bane for a couple weeks. So, yeah. Michael, what did you think of this movie? Initial thoughts.
It was probably my favorite Batman, even though I liked all of them, really. In my opinion, I think that Christian Bale is far and away the best Batman, certainly in my lifetime. So
I agree, hands down.
And I think probably.
I know a lot of people really like.
So you really think?
I was gonna say I know a lot of people really love Michael Keaton, but I have to go with Christian Bale.
Well, he's a great actor in general, and I think he really nailed the role.
Yeah. Michael Keaton did good. I was young, and I was used to him being like a kind of a comedic, so it was different to see him in that role. And the movies were different back then, the Batman movies, than the newest ones. They got kind of darker and edgier and all that. So, but it was probably my favorite of the Batman movies.
Yes. And well, so you're actually, you kind of stand out then, because so you're saying you like this better than The Dark Knight with Heath Ledger.
I do.
Okay.
If I had to watch, if you said I had, pick one, I would watch The Dark Knight Rising. Obviously Heath Ledger did a great job and turned in a stellar performance, kind of a legendary type performance at this point. One of those almost James Dean kind of things, because he wasn't around a whole lot longer after that. But if I had to pick out of the two, I'd still pick The Dark Knight Rises.
I know I would. I can tell you, Natalie, we're more Dark Knight, but I think The Dark Knight Rises is a great movie and great conclusion to, in my opinion, by far the best Batman trilogy of all time.
Yeah.
Well, and I've heard it said, and the more I thought about it, it makes sense. They said this was the greatest third movie of like a comic series like ever. And I get that the more like when I reflected on the movie, and it was one of those movies when I thought about it after watching it, I kind of started to piece together and sort of like it more than I even did while I was watching it, like appreciate it more.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's one of the most, I guess just my thoughts here, but it's probably one of the most emotionally charged comic book movies when you really think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Totally, because I'm going to get into that when we'll discuss kind of characters here in a moment. Some of the scenes with Alfred and Bruce Wayne are like really kind of get you by the heart. It was very emotional for those two, and I've not really seen that in a Batman movie.
And I don't think we'd ever seen Batman like this, and not just Batman, but the man behind, Batman, Bruce Wayne, and he truly was a broken down man at the beginning of this and much throughout the movie. So to see just kind of the deep pain he was in and his transformation and kind of getting back to something through the movie was powerful.
Yeah, it is. So that's kind of our initial thoughts. And we will move in and we'll kind of, as we talk about characters, you can bring up really anything you want to about these characters in the movie. And after that, after we talk characters, we'll bring up favorite scenes if you have any favorite scenes from this movie. So let's kind of dive in. Oh, and before, we want to wish a very happy belated birthday now to our grandmother Grace, who turned 89 on July 25th, and Natalie's daughter Isabella, who turned 13 on July 25th. So
happy birthday
yes,
to both.
Happy birthday to both of them. But let's move in. And actually, before we get to the characters, I just don't think enough can be said about Christopher Nolan, who, of course, directed this. And I remember a few weeks ago, I think it was Ryan, who on our live stream, he said he thought Christopher Nolan is kind of the new Steven Spielberg. And I think he really is kind of on that level. Like Christopher Nolan, what he was able to do with a comic book movie is truly genius. Like all three movies are great in their own way. And especially The Dark Knight, and to me, The Dark Knight Rises. They're just so special, and they're shot just so beautifully. I mean, that's the thing. Like, they look so real. And I struggle with things if I feel like it's not grounded. And that's why I love this trilogy. Christopher Nolan, and The Dark Knight, I guess, in the comic books is darker than the other Batman comics. But he was able to ground this trilogy in reality in a way that nothing I've ever seen before. And I mean, until like the latest Joker, which is on next level of that. But to truly still be a comic, I just think Christopher Nolan, he's just incredible what he did with this trilogy and what he did with this movie, in my opinion.
And I think for me, even like with comics, that's what can kind of draw me to the Batman franchise in general. One in particular, these three. But just a little grittier than a lot of comics out there. And like you said, more grounded. So I find them a little more appealing personally.
Yeah. And, Michael, were you going to speak?
No, go ahead.
Oh, and I know Michael, Natalie may not have anything to say about this, but yet again, Hans Zimmer did an incredible job with the score of this movie. Like I think it's called Gotham's Reckoning, which is Bane's music that always comes on when Bane's appearing. It's just incredible. Again, so he did an incredible job with The Dark Knight, and he did an incredible job with The Dark Knight Rises.
I think you had a lot of good things coming together in this movie, and with the others also, but in this one, in particular, the acting, the directing, dialogue, the music, like you said, awesome. It really adds to it. So you had a lot of good things coming together for this one.
Yes, definitely. And we'll kind of move into characters now. And I heard this said, and I think this is accurate. They said where The Dark Knight was kind of more of a crime drama that was made into a comic. This is more of a war movie that was made into a comic. And you really can see that. Like, this truly is like, it's a war movie. Like, Bane goes to war, basically, with the city of Gotham. So that, I just thought that was kind of an interesting, and it really is true. But now we'll kind of move into anything we want to say about Christian Bale and Batman in this particular movie. And I'll let you start, Michael. Or if you want me to start, whoever wants to start.
Well, I don't know how old he was supposed to be exactly. Do you know what like maybe 38, 40, something like that?
I think so.
Do you know,
Yeah.
I didn't realize, I think 8 years was supposed to have passed between the one with Heath Ledger and The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that watching it, last week.
You must have missed them say.
Apparently I missed that part.
They say at the very beginning.
Yeah, so it was that certainly catches your attention right up front because he's become this recluse, and his body is evidently not in very good shape because he's walking around on this cane. But then he still has this desire to get out there, something kind of awakens that desire to get back out there. And so I think a lot of people, maybe not all people, but a lot of people can relate to that, where you've done something, you go through rough patches, you kind of lose your passion, and then something kind of awakens it, and you want to get back to it. You want to get back to what it is that you love, that you've kind of set on the shelf for a while or whatever. And we don't really know how long exactly he's not done anything. I don't remember.
Well, no, it's been 8 years
specifically hearing in the movie.
At the beginning of the movie, Commissioner Gordon is giving a speech about Harvey Dent, and they say it's been 8 years since Harvey Dent died. So, of course, that's the setup to this movie too, that Batman at the end of The Dark Knight, he falls, so to speak, because he takes the fall for Harvey Dent's murder. And so he's in hiding. So he's been in hiding for 8 years. So you can continue with what you're saying.
Yeah, that's right. I did forget about that. He was the bad guy.
Yeah.
And Gordon allows him to stay the bad guy just for kind of public morale or whatever when he's giving that speech at the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but then this new challenge comes, and so he's kind of this desire to get back out there, but Alfred knows he's probably not up to it, but he doesn't know that he's not up to it. And so that's interesting to watch, and especially I probably will continue to relate with that one more as I get older, because I'm 38 and I'm sitting here with 2 partially torn ligaments in my knee because I got back into jiu-jitsu after quarantine was over, and I've got a partly arthritic shoulder. So I relate to that, the body not doing exactly what you want it to do. And so, but as far as his character, it was interesting to me, and it's also kind of it humanizes Batman in such a way of almost maybe no other superhero that you watch in, whether it's DC or Marvel or whatever. Except, I don't know, you could probably debate that, but it humanizes them.
I think so.
In a very significant, powerful way.
Well, and something that's important to set up in this, 2 things I'll say. One, this movie at times has kind of Rocky 3 vibes. You know how Rocky's lost his like determination or hunger to fight, and Apollo's got to get that out of him.
Yeah.
There's kind of those vibes in this, but in this, and that's where the emotionally charged moments come with Alfred. Alfred recognizes, because of course Rachel died in the previous movie. Alfred recognizes that Bruce Wayne has basically lost the will to live. Like, it's beyond like he's just upset. Like he doesn't feel like there's anything worth living for. And that's where Alfred is he threatens and he quits. He quits his job, and he's like tearful about it because he recognizes, he says, basically that he fears that he will lose to Bane because basically he wants to, like he doesn't care anymore. And Alfred recognizes the danger of that for this character. So that's kind of the arc for Bruce Wayne too, and that we'll get to with the final jump where he finally comes back and that out of that pit. He has to begin to fear death again and to have something to live for. So that becomes a major theme of this movie, and it's a powerful thing that I think again people can relate to in life.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing I think with this movie, with his character, is like you said, I mean, that's what I was thinking. He's really lost his will to live. And, I particularly liked the scene where, what is his name? He was on 30 Rock from the Sun. Good actor.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
It's like a 3 name.
Yeah,
what is it?
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt. But I thought he did a particularly good job in this as the young police officer, then got promoted to detective. When you find out his backstory, that he had grown up in one of the group homes for boys that Bruce Wayne had funded, and somehow he just like knows that that's Batman.
Yeah, he's put it together,
and he goes and kind of has a pep talk with him, and then it kind of the light starts kind of clicking on his head, and he's like, Alfred, why don't we give to that boys' home anymore? And it's like, I don't know, I felt like he kind of had a part just in that little one-on-one conversation of kind of waking him up, even in the smallest of ways, but something kind of, the lights get going again.
Yeah, he does play a role for sure. And we'll kind of talk, well, I guess we'll save that ending for when we move down the road. But so we kind of talked about Alfred again. Alfred played by Michael Caine, who I think was such an excellent Alfred. And
another fantastic actor.
Yes, I mean the actors in this movie. I mean, you've got Academy Award winners. It's just great acting.
This is Batman on a different level.
Yes, so Alfred has just incredible moments. Literally tears up about he doesn't want to fail his parents of protecting Bruce throughout his life, and quits Bruce, leaves, like says, I can't be around you and just watch you basically kill yourself. So I think they have some great moments.
Oh, and I will say about Batman too, and I think we've touched on this, and like Michael said, I think, this is the first time that we've really seen Batman physically challenged to this degree. And to have an opponent, once we get to Bane, that it's very believable that he wouldn't win in a fight against him.
Yeah, that is true. And with that, we can just kind of move into discussing Bane, because I personally, and I'll let you guys speak, sometimes I feel Tom Hardy's performance in Bane, it's a little underrated in my opinion, because I think Bane, think about it. When I was a kid, Batman and Robin came out, and we got that version of Bane that is so laughable. It's unbelievable. I mean, if you can remember Bane from that movie. Do you guys not?
No, I don't. I don't remember anything about that movie. I don't think anybody wants to remember anything about that movie.
Well, you need to go back and watch how Bane becomes Bane in that movie.
Vaguely. Yeah.
But anyways, so from that to this.
Isn't he like super veiny? Like,
well, they basically blow him up on steroids. He's a normal sized man. They blow him up and he becomes Bane in like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
So going from that to this, again, they made a comic book character feel realistic. Like this feels like this could be a legit villain. And he's very, the word I would use that makes Bane to me, he's so imposing. Like there's a moment where with, what's his name, Natalie, Ben Mendelsohn, he puts his hand just kind of, where's the camera, just kind of like this on Ben Mendelsohn's shoulder.
Yeah, and there's such a sense of like,
and he says, do you feel in control? And it's just like every time Bane's on camera, you feel the threat of his physical. He's just so big and can move so fast. Like he's so imposing. So I think he's an incredible villain. What do you all think?
Another funny and good thing about his performance, you ever notice like every time he says something, even if it's not a question, it sounds like a question?
Yeah, Tom Hardy
he makes a statement, but it sounds like he's asking, it's a rhetorical or something.
Tom Hardy's voice is kind of, he's both imposing and humorous throughout the movie in a way, just because of the way he chose to speak. But anyways,
and if you guys haven't ever YouTubed Bane Cat, you're missing out. You got to see that. I laughed for weeks about Bane Cat.
Yeah,
molded by it.
But so, Michael, what do you think about Bane?
Yeah, I mean, even like his first, I think the first appearance that he has is the plane.
Yes, so incredible opening sequence. But
yeah, so the guy's asking, what's next, and clearly this guy's going to be sacrificed, and Bane tells him, crash the plane, no survivors, and this guy's just like happy to do it, like he's very happy to sacrifice himself to Bane, and you're like, wow, this guy is not only physically imposing, but he's like got some kind of serious drawing power that people are just happily sacrificing themselves for him, for no real reason, really. Bane didn't have a great reason as to why that guy couldn't come with him, other than somebody just needed to go down with it, so it might as well be you. And and the guy was pleased to do it. It's like it was an honor.
What an honor, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. So so that kind of sets the tone for what type of influence that this guy's going to have. Like somehow he's really, drawn people to his mission.
Yeah, no, totally. And that the cinematography in that opening scene with the plane coming on top of the plane. I mean, that's Christopher Nolan's genius. Like that's just incredible opening scene.
Yes.
But yeah, Bane is just so imposing. And let's move in. We can kind of move into scenes too, as we talk about things with this character. You literally feel afraid when Batman finally sees Bane face to face, and they're in that basically a cage almost is the setup at that point. And Bane just beats the crap out of Batman. And you're literally just like coming in shock that he's just, I mean, it feels like Batman doesn't have a chance against this guy.
Yeah. Well, his skills are not sharp at that point.
No. As we've discussed, I mean, he's pretty rusty.
Yeah, and he's not taking the time to really get back into into the game. Like it would have taken a lot of effort to get anywhere close to top position, top form. And obviously Batman wasn't going to be at top form probably at this stage in the game. But he didn't even make a great effort to really climb the hill in any way. He just, he just thought he'd go out there and I guess maybe give it his best shot.
Well, and we'll get back to Bane as we kind of hit scenes. Let's move into Anne Hathaway, who's played Catwoman. Because going back and rewatching this, I would have to say she adds the fun to this movie. Like, her scenes are delightful. Like, every time Catwoman is on screen, like, you're having fun. It's the one, because this movie overall is not a lot of fun, but she brings the fun. And one of her besides her opening scene with Bruce, when she tricks the guy and she's meeting actually kind of like Bane's the guy's working with Bane. And it just shows how much she can outwit people. And I don't know if you remember what I'm talking about, where she has a senator that's there basically just for her own defense. She's called the police because she knows.
Yeah.
Yes, and the way she's able to outsmart them, then she's able to, she does her cat-like martial arts. And then as the cops come in, she falls down, just screams like she's a helpless victim and just walks out, like doesn't care. Her acting in this, I mean, Anne Hathaway is an incredible actress, but her acting is so good. And she's just so much fun in this movie. Like, you enjoy her. Like, even though half the movie, really the whole movie, you're like, can we trust Catwoman? And she kind of keeps letting Bruce down, but Bruce keeps believing that she's not going to let him down at some point.
Well, she's very cunning and manipulative, and I think she's very much in survival mode and, take care of herself above all else. But then as the movie goes on, I think obviously you get the sense she does have a heart in there, and she's not like really a bad person.
Yeah, the Catwoman that Anne Hathaway portrayed would very much be in line with like an older version of the Catwoman that was portrayed in Gotham, the TV shows, like when she's young coming up through the streets.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, they would very much be characters kind of cut out of the same mold. There is good there, but a significant amount of the time they choose not good because that's what is most that's what helped them to survive.
Yeah. Kind of like cats on the street,
but not like totally evil,
Right.
No, and that's where she sells out Bruce Wayne to that moment we just talked about where he encounters Bane. And you literally, as Batman gets beat up, you see tears like come down her face. Like, she realizes she made a mistake. She felt like there was no other option. They were going to kill her if she didn't give him up. But you could tell she was really grieved by her decision in that moment. So you see good character building in Catwoman throughout this movie also. And we'll move on. And
hold on. Can I just read this comment? This is interesting. So Batman is, this is Bob's Adventure Vlogs and More. Hello. He was saying Batman is supposed to be 30 in this movie.
I feel like he has to be older than that.
I feel like 38 would be like more realistic. Like maybe he was 30 in the last movie.
Yeah.
Or 31.
Yeah, he's a bad 30, man. If he's supposed to be 30.
Yeah, he's been through some stuff.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I have no idea, but he comes across like way older than that.
Yeah, definitely. Anyways, we'll move into, and then we'll kind of talk moments more in the movie. I will just say that I do think that Joseph Gordon-Levitt did a great job as this character that we ultimately know they're hinting is Robin. He just, it's at the very beginning of his journey. And I think he added a lot to the movie.
I do too. I really liked him in this role. Yeah. And I'd forgotten that till rewatching it, that they kind of did that Robin bit at the end, that they implied that. So that was cool. When he kind of walks away from the police force.
And he finds the Batcave where Bruce has given him, told him, basically given it for him to go to. Yeah, I thought he did a great job. And of course, the guy who does Commissioner Gordon, he was great in all three of these movies.
And you see in this movie, for his character, the kind of the guilt weighing on him at the beginning of the movie. He's kept this kind of dirty secret for 8 years, and he really wants to get it off his chest. That they kind of threw Batman under the bus for the sake of, making that.
And I will say
Two-Face seem okay.
I will say it's like touching. If I'm in an emotional mood, it could almost make me tear up. It's very touching at the end of the movie where Bruce Wayne he's Batman, where he finally lets Commissioner Gordon know, I'm Bruce Wayne. He does it in a subtle way of reminding him how he, after his parents had died, Commissioner Gordon put a coat around his jacket, told him it was going to be okay.
And when you see it like dawn on his face,
Yeah.
that was really sweet. That was a nice touch.
Yeah, but that guy does a great job. Yeah. So that's kind of characters. But let's move into kind of the movie big moments. Any moments you like we mentioned, that opening scene to me is just incredible. And I will say, I'll give you my a moment that comes to my head that I love. It's when Batman first shows up. Bane has, because it takes a while. You're like an hour into the movie before actually Batman shows up. It's just been Bruce Wayne. And Bane has just taken hostages out of the stock exchange. And Batman, all of a sudden the lights go out on the street and an old cop's like, oh, you're going to like what's going to happen. And all of a sudden you see the bat cycle go through the street. And that scene is just like, yeah, like you're like, yes, like when you finally see him in the movie, it's very victorious and awesome. But I love that moment.
Yeah. The only thing is I knew that it was going to be short-lived. So I knew like, oh, this is real cool. But then I knew like, I don't know if I'm going to get too excited because I'm pretty sure a bad beatdown is coming, yeah, pretty quickly after that. And, of course it did come after that, but yeah, it shows that he still had it to some degree at that point. He still, could do some awesome stuff, but when it came to the hand-to-hand stuff, boy, he was overmatched.
Yes. And another scene I love is when you find like Catwoman's kind of in a pinch. Bane's men are surrounding her, and all of a sudden Batman shows up, and them fighting together for the first time is a very awesome moment, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Who fighting together, would you say?
Batman and Catwoman.
Oh, yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, and he saves her in the little chopper or the plane or whatever he's got at that time. Mm-hmm.
She says, my mom said never get in the car with strange men, and he says, this is no car. And they go off together.
Go up in the sky.
yeah, that movie there, that is very fun. And this whole movie, I will say, a lot goes on in this movie. This is a very packed movie because they're telling Bruce Wayne's story that's very emotionally charged. They've got Catwoman's story, they've got Bane's story, and they've got this new becoming Robin character story. So there's a lot going on in this movie. But then we can kind of move into, of course, Batman gets thrown into the pit. And I think
you've got Ra's al Ghul's daughter, who you're trying to figure out who she is along the way too. So she's in there with Wayne Enterprises and all that. So there's a lot going on. But I never felt like it felt like super rushed or super crammed, like some movies can have a tendency to get. Like somehow they really made it flow pretty well, considering all of the different things they were trying to get across.
Yeah, they definitely did. Anything you guys want to talk? Because this movie really kind of builds to a crescendo, I would say, because we do have Bane. And that's what we can kind of say, watching this movie, it was hard not to, with everything going on in cities like Portland and what we just saw with Seattle and Chop or Shaz. It was just interesting to watch Bane basically take over Gotham, who literally, to me, Bane is kind of the symbol of anarchy. And he's promising Gotham to give them this better life, when in reality, he's plotting to destroy their life.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting the way watching it right now, it just kind of hit with, some of the, people. I mean, the thing in Chaz was a total disaster. It was just interesting. Anything you guys want to say?
Yeah, well, Gotham definitely, they didn't have the police, so to speak.
Bane, part of his plan is to get rid of the cops.
Right.
And he gets them shut in under the city until Batman gets them out eventually.
Yeah. And it wasn't a pretty picture for him. Yeah, he did. He was promising on the football field. He was promising that he was going to, give Gotham back to them. And in some sick, twisted way, I guess he did. But anytime that happens, the most chaotic, the most violent, the most dastardly are the ones that benefit from it. And you see immediately that's what takes place. You know, you've got Scarecrow, who's like the judge of the, and it's not actual justice. It's just whoever they don't like is getting, tossed.
Death by exile.
Death by exile. Yeah, where they're like falling through the ice or something, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it is interesting with everything that's going on today, almost how somehow it was kind of similar concept going on.
It was interesting watching through today's world, because that's why I'd say this movie, like Bane, truly, there's times where it's like you truly feel like hope is lost. Like it literally leads up to this moment of feeling like Gotham is hopeless. Like Bane, there's no one coming to save them. Batman is gone. The police are gone. Like Bane is he literally has his terrorists cruising the city, and now Batman's old Batmobiles, basically. I mean, it's just a total, it just fit, Catwoman is seeing everything going, basically to pot. I mean, everything is just going terrible in the city.
She was kind of a believer at one point. She kind of believed that the Bruce Waynes and the wealthy and the elite of Gotham, that getting what they had coming to them would somehow end up good for her. And she quickly finds out that this is not a good situation for her at all.
Like she's scared for her life and thinks like, what is going on?
Yeah. And so another thing as to, you said earlier that Tom Hardy probably doesn't get the credit that he deserves. Well, I think that's another thing that we can tie to today. He has a mask on the whole time, so you can't see his face. We're finding out, like, or at least I'm finding out when we go out and restaurants and businesses and things. I'm having a difficult time communicating with people because I can't see what their face is doing. I'm just hearing a voice. And so sometimes you're losing connection as to, so I think that maybe it was harder for people to connect just psychologically to what a good job he did, because you never saw his face. You just heard the voice, and saw
He did do an amazing job. But, so all this leads to all this chaos that's being caused in the city, Gotham's reckoning, as Bane says. It leads to Bane has locked Bruce Wayne, basically put Bruce Wayne into a pit, a literal pit in another country, this prison.
A pit of despair.
Yeah, and told him, after he gave him a movie or a TV, and after you've watched me basically destroy Gotham, you have my permission to die, is what he's told. So let's kind of move into Batman. He eventually, and that is the point of this movie, he gets back. He knows he's going to have to make this jump, and he makes this jump to try to get out of this prison, I think 3 times, and the first 2 times he fails. And
I liked that.
Yes. And
that's more realistic.
The man in the prison, begins to explain the story of the person who got out, who at this point still a mystery in the movie. But he tells him that he doesn't fear death. And that basically it's kind of like the fear of death is what will make you make it. You've got to have something you want to live for. And that becomes the point of this movie. Batman in that pit, as he sees his beloved city just falling apart, he finally gets something to live for again. And that's where we get, it's a very glorious moment when Bruce Wayne makes the jump and he gets out of the pit. And I think that can be, just so symbolic of things we go through in life. Kind of getting back up again. And I think that's even, his dad, that's said throughout this trilogy. His dad will say, Bruce, what does he say? Why do we fall? To learn to get back up or something like that. So you have that echoing back through this, and it's just a powerful scene when he gets back. And then it's a powerful scene where are you just like, when Catwoman saves a kid, and then all of a sudden Bruce Wayne walks up to her, and he tries to get her again. He pleads to the goodness in Catwoman, like, show up and help me. And of course she ultimately does. But anything you guys want to say about the pit scene or anything like that?
Yeah, well, he doesn't use the rope the last time.
No, he does
Yeah,
not.
he uses the rope the first 2 times. And then, you know, again, it's like you see both of those times, he's not going to make it. It's like the fight with Bane. You can see he still doesn't have it. He's still, just something's still missing, and he's not going to make it. And then, but somewhere in there, he finds how to get everything that he's got left. He's going to give it to getting out of there. Whereas previously, it's like he was still at only like 90%, 85%. He still hadn't totally committed. And so, yeah, once he gets out of there, that is my favorite scene in the movie, of course, when he rises back out, because he's fallen to such a pathetic low, but then yet he's risen back out, and now he's going to be Batman again.
Yeah, no, it's a great scene. And then when he eventually meets Commissioner Gordon, who has been told he's to die by exile, he meets him out of the water and, tells him to light it up. And he lights it up, and all of a sudden the bat signal is a flame on the bridge, which then becomes a call to all, then he's able to get the rest of the police out of the tunnels that have been locked up. And it becomes a call to the police and pretty much to everyone to join the fight, basically to get their city back from the psychopath of Bane. And that's like a chilling moment when the bat signal goes up through it's fire at this point. But that scene always gets me. It's a good one.
And so I remember even that police officer that had been kind of a scaredy cat, kind of locked away. He comes out, it's given him the courage to come back out and fight again. And unfortunately, it looks like he lost that fight on a personal level. That was sad, but
yeah, he does.
The hope had kind of been restored, or at least the hope to continue the good fight.
Yes. And that becomes too, because Batman's kind of a symbol, because the Gotham police are known for being corrupt, and Batman becomes a symbol of needing more, and it ultimately becomes a call to the rest of the police to be more. So I just think that's it's a powerful moment, and even in relating to today, that's a powerful thing too. So that's a great moment. And then we can kind of move into with the final showdown with Bane and Batman, which I really enjoy. I mean, they just somehow create where Bane punches so quickly. They clearly had to speed it up through a computer, because I don't know if a person punches that fast. But I at first, and I will say this, at first I didn't like the first time I saw the movie. Of course, Batman beats Bane this time around, and then that woman stabs him in the back, literally with a knife.
Yeah,
and then Bane says, "Well, I have to kill you now," after she leaves. And Catwoman comes in and blasts Bane away. And the first time I saw it, I was like, well, that was kind of a letdown.
Like anticlimactic.
But the second time, when we watched it this past time, I enjoyed it, because they had already had 2 show-offs at this time, and Batman had totally, beat him up this time around. So it just would have been more that we didn't need anymore. So I actually enjoyed her just quickly. I don't share your same enthusiasm about guns, or whatever she says. We need to talk about the gun thing, or something like that.
That was corny comic book lines that worked. In that scene.
Yeah.
Well, was it because Bruce said you can't kill anybody?
Yes, he said no guns. No, I don't kill anyone, or something
when she comes in and blows him away, she's like, "I'm not sure I feel as passionate about your view on guns."
Yeah.
I think the second time she either says that, or we need to talk about the gun thing. But I liked their final showdown, and I think her killing Bane, it was fine, because at that point Bane was no longer the major threat. The major threat is the bomb that they now have to get and defuse.
Right.
Anything you guys want to say about that?
The one thing I'll say, I asked Michelle during the movie, is when you find out who the little boy, but actually little girl was in the hellhole they were in. I don't know what else to call it. But I get for her dad or whatever, but I'm just like, why is she so intent? What is, on blowing up the city and millions of people? I guess I didn't get totally why.
Well, Natalie, she's just a villain. They love chaos.
And she's trying to finish what her dad wanted to do all those years ago in Batman Begins.
Okay, yeah.
You know, Ra's al Ghul wanted to get rid of all of it, but you know, so she's following for her dad, and she's wanting to get revenge on Batman who killed her dad.
And they want to kill Gotham because they view it so vile and awful. So again, there comes in this fight of Batman kind of stepping up as this symbol of humanity can be more. Yes, it's been a mess. Yes, it's been disastrous, but there can be better. Like humanity can do better. So I always enjoy that kind of symbolism.
Me too.
And of course, Batman, he is able to get the bomb out of the city, and everyone thinks he dies, and that's sad when you've got Alfred crying at his grave, telling his parents, "I'm sorry, I failed you." Of course, Alfred at that point doesn't know that Batman is alive, which they set up beautifully because Morgan Freeman, who yet again we haven't brought him up, Morgan Freeman, he's not even in these movies much, but when he's in it, you know he's in it. Like he does a great job with the time he has.
A great presence.
He does. He adds a lot in these movies. And Morgan Freeman had set up in the beginning when he showed him this new plane that he created that he couldn't fix the co-pilot. And he says, but maybe a better mind can fix it. And so anyways, and then that's how we know he's alive, is Morgan Freeman is talking to someone and he says, well, the co-pilot was fixed. And he's like, who fixed it? He's like, Bruce Wayne. So that's kind of how it ends. And we'll move into that. Someone actually asked on Twitter, because we had, if you have any questions, let us know. They asked if I liked the ending and the epilogue. And I think, to me, this ending of this trilogy was perfect. I love that what Alfred wanted so bad that he tells with tears in his eyes to Bruce Wayne is fulfilled. And that was he wanted Bruce to step away from Batman and to live a happy, normal life, maybe find a woman. And it literally ends with him looking over and seeing
kind of his fantasy he described earlier, literally that playing out.
Yes, him seeing Bruce with Selena Kyle, aka Catwoman, together. And I really actually buy their romance because let's be real, Batman and a normal woman, I just don't know if they're gonna make it.
It's like they're more equals in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
He needs kind of a special woman.
Yeah, no, I thought it ended well. And I think the way that, for me, I feel like it ended well is I was looking at the one character who clearly was like a Robin, or, going to be a Robin, and like really wishing that we could see more out of these characters. And so when something ends and that's how it makes you feel, then they've done what they're supposed to do. When something ends and you're like, well, I'm good with that, then it's not ending on a high note. And so as much as I would have liked to seen another movie with the Robin, it probably would have been difficult to end on any higher note than, where they ended it there. And I think Christian Bale just wasn't going to do Batman anymore anyway. Right. And I mean, isn't that pretty much what he decided?
And Christopher Nolan was done.
Okay.
The director.
Everybody was done.
So, they were done. So to me, I really think this ending, it couldn't have ended to be so grounded in reality. They gave us a happy ending kind of in a way. So I really appreciate that. I like happy endings. I hate when they try to get cute with an ending when you've invested this much time into a character. So I think the ending was as perfect as it could be, in my opinion.
And in my corny words of wisdom, to sum up this movie, I think, remember that hope isn't lost when you think it is. And there are good people out there. And
so I
lost what I was going to say.
I think that's it.
But that's pretty much it. But hope is never lost.
She tried, everyone.
I tried.
But but that's just kind of closing.
Maybe you should have actually prepared a statement to close with beforehand, as opposed to coming off at the end and belly flopping.
That probably would have been better. But that's kind of, so closing thoughts. Again, I just think this movie, 8 years later, it still lives up. The Nolan Bell trilogy they're going to be really hard pressed to outdo this trilogy. It was just from the villains they casted, the people, the actors and actresses in these movies. It was just an incredible Batman trilogy that we got in the Dark Knight trilogy. And to me, again, it ended on a high note. It just ended great. And there was so much character development all the way through this trilogy with every character. And that's also a great sign of good writing and a great franchise.
So there weren't any standalone Ben Affleck movies, or were there?
No.
Okay. Maybe I was out of that, but I didn't think so.
No. And I was actually surprised how well I did kind of accept his role in that. I thought he did pretty, relatively well. But somebody had put down there that they're really looking forward to the new one. I don't know.
I am excited about it.
When's that supposed to come out?
Well, if they can get back, because they had just started filming when COVID hit. So they had to shut down production. So if they can get back on track here really soon, it's supposed to come out October 2021. So next year. And it is looking very neat. Like a very different take on Batman, which honestly, when you've had a character like Batman that you keep doing, you need to revamp it. Do it different. It doesn't have to be the same every time. So I everything I've seen, I'm very excited about with what they're doing.
Well, that's what this last one was. It was very much a different kind of. So I guess this is going to be 2, and Robert Pattinson is playing Batman. That's the only thing I have a question with. I'm not familiar with him outside of the vampire deal, and so he's like a thin, pale vampire. That's how I know him. But I'm sure, I guess they've probably gotten him in the weight room and gotten him, looking more like Batman. So
yeah, he's looking better. But what to me, what's fascinating about this is they said that they're going back to Batman's origins in the comics, which is truly a detective. So this is going to be, it sounds like it almost could be a murder mystery Batman style with all with Penguin, with the Riddler, with all these different people. But it sounds interesting. So I'm interested.
And I actually, not that I was a big fan of the Twilight movies, but I actually can totally see him as Batman. I get it.
He looks like Bruce Wayne to me all day, especially. So I'm intrigued.
Almost more along the lines of like Val Kilmer vibes in a different way or something.
Yeah.
Like Michael said, maybe he needs to beef up a little more, but.
Hey, Cam's in the chat.
Hey, Cam.
You are a little bit late, but that's okay because you're Cam, so we accept it. That's awesome.
Hey, I'm late all the time. Don't feel bad. Michelle Michael knows too.
Yeah, she is. But that's it. I think we're finished with this, and we'll close the podcast, and then we can talk on the live chat here just for a second. But that is it for this episode of Force of Light Entertainment. We appreciate you all for joining the conversation and encourage you to check out some of our other episodes on podcasts and on YouTube. And, subscribe to the channel.
And you can look for a new episode every Sunday.
Yes. And if you want to reach out to us, you can find us at Force of Light Entertainment on Twitter and Instagram. And I am Michelle34 Smith on each. Natalie, where can they find you?
I am Natalie R. Grace on Twitter and Nat Loves Bella 07 on Instagram. And we'd love to hear from you guys.
Yes, reach out. We appreciate you all again. And again, join the conversation. And next time, let's talk some more movies. All right, bye. All right, for everyone still in the chat, but yeah, that's kind of it for tonight. Is there any comments you guys have, if you're still in the chat, about either this Batman or the next Batman? But yeah, Michael, I think the next Batman trilogy, Matt Reeves is doing it, and it looks like it's going to be pretty cool. The Batmobile is cool. Everything about it just looks pretty awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll have to check it out. I'm disconnected because I don't know, are movie theaters open there? They're not even open here. Well, they can be open, but none of them are open.
Theaters?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we've seen so many movies.
Well, but old
really?
Movies. Yeah. Well, I mean, they're not coming out with new movies. It's just they're playing the original Star Wars and Indiana Jones. So we've been seeing some of the old classics.
Okay.
all Steven Spielberg movies, E.T.,
Back to the
Gremlins,
Future.
Back to the Future, Jurassic Park, things like that. So it's been fun. And we feel pretty dang safe about it because there's very few people.
Sometimes we're the only ones.
You know, but yes, I think
Yeah, most of ours are
I
closed.
think movie theaters, AMC and Regal, are supposed to open, I think, in August and begin to play old movies, is what I've heard. So we'll see. We'd love some new
Okay.
material anytime.
Let's see
What's Cam say?
It says,
From what I hear, Rob Pattinson's a great actor. Unfortunately, cast in Twilight. People think that's his best.
Yeah, I can see that.
She had that look like Natalie and Portman and Minutes. Yes.
Right.
Those are not the actors' fault.
Yeah.
I will say that.
When you got dialogue, I mean, you can do the rest of it, but it's dialogue.
Yes.
Can you guys hear me? Because
Yes, we can.
you guys' voice is like totally cutting out on my end.
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us now?
I mean, I can hear you, but you sound like really scratchy.
Oh, gotcha. Well, that's probably a good time to end the live stream then. But thank you all for everyone in the chat who showed up for the live stream. We'll begin to do more of these from time to time. Maybe some of them will be live podcast episodes like this one. Other ones we may just do a live stream like we've done in the past. So thank you all for joining the live stream, and we will let you know when we have another YouTube event. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Oh, thanks, Mr. S. Thank you for showing up.
And thank you to Michael.
Yes, thank you, Michael. Yes, our brother. All right, see
All right,
you guys.
you're welcome. Bye.
Want Michael to have to leave? I don't think